Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking about 7 radical ideas that most Americans actually support. You can have your opinion down in the description, but we're going to get right into it. I don't know how reliable the source is, but I do know these ideas are not, or have been so-called radicalized by conservative whistleblowers, or not whistleblowers, sorry, dog whistles. So let's start with number one. Weed should be legal. Although legalizing marijuana is something close to a consensus position among 2020 Democrat candidates, Democratic legislators in many blue states are still dragging their feet. And on this front, ideology and/or interest group organizing, not political opinion, is the obstacle to change. DFP's poll is far from the first to find that ending weed prohibition is popular, but its survey nevertheless suggests that mainstream discourse hasn't absorbed just how high the American public is on legal ganja. According to the think tank's findings, legalizing marijuana isn't just a majoritarian position in all 50 states, it's a majoritarian position with Trump voters in 49, which is to say, in every U.S. state but Mississippi, a majority of voters who support Donald Trump also support bringing weed off the black market. And even in the Mongolia state, 48% of Trump voters are 420 friendly. Uh, I'm not sure what this map is supposed. Where's the legend for the map? I guess the lighter colors are for the less. Workers should have representation on corporate boards. Over the past 2 years, the Democratic Party's most progressive senators have backed the idea of requiring large corporations to set aside a share of seats on their boards. Proposals range from 33 to 40% for their employees' elected representatives. In other words, they propose forcing companies to give their workers some say in how profits are allocated. This arrangement, widely known as, quote, worker co-determination, is prevalent in Western Europe and a pillar of Germany's economic model. Historical evidence suggests that had workers' representatives been in every corporate boardroom in January 2018, the Trump tax cuts might have actually trickled down to workers' paychecks instead of pulling in wealthy shareholders' bank accounts. As a policy that both challenges managerial supremacy within the firm and would likely redistribute significant sums from capital to labor. Worker co-determination is arguably a, quote, far left policy by American standards. It is also has a net positive approval rating in every single congressional district in the United States. Now, all for the Democrats think that the Democrats are the best, because most of them are not. Most of them are just a bunch of liberals. But the Republican Party has taken these ideas, these progressive ideas, and made the American people scared of them. They're not progressive, these are reasonable ideas. The credit card interest rates are too high. Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez have introduced legislation that would cap interest rates on credit card debt at 15% per year. Data for Progress did not mention the names of the proposal's co-sponsors in its poll of the policy, but it did inform respondents that Republicans say this will hurt the economy. Without the ability to charge large interest rates, financial institutions will be unwilling to lend, and consumers will lose the ability to use credit cards when they most need it. Despite this partisan framing, capping credit card interest rates attracted not just majority, but supermajority support in all 50 states. The policy is most unpopular in Wyoming, where only 68% of voters support AOC's vision for financial reform. I don't really know nothing about that. I don't know much about credit cards. Government officials shouldn't be allowed to own stocks or become lobbyists right after leaving office. Now, this is a big thing because this is a major thing within corruption. This just leads to corruption. Elizabeth Warren has proposed barring members of Congress from owning individual stocks or becoming lobbyists for years after leaving office. Given that even Trump has pretended to disapprove of the revolving door between Capitol Hill and K Street, it is perhaps unsurprising that this proposal is popular in every state. Number 5. The government should directly finance the development of new drugs and then allow the breakthrough pharmaceuticals to be sold cheaply without a patent. The high cost of prescription drugs in the U.S. has prompted complaints from lawmakers on both sides of the aisle, and yet only the most left-wing members of Congress have called for tackling the underlying problem: the way America chooses to finance pharmaceutical research and innovation. At present, the United States incentivizes drug companies to develop new cures by awarding innovation with patent monopolies, which is to say, by letting pharmaceutical firms price gouge for years before their new wares hit the free market. This is less than ideal for multiple reasons. For one, these patent protections tend to be needlessly generous, awarding big pharma longer periods of exclusivity than necessary to stimulate research. For another, since innovation is rewarded with a monopoly rather than a direct reward, this system does little to incentivize research into drugs that aren't hugely profitable, either because they treat rare conditions or because they cure users with a single dose. A better way to incentivize pharmaceutical innovation and drastically reduce the cost of new prescription drugs would be for the federal government to maintain a prize fund that awards developers of therapeutically valuable new medicines with a giant one-time payment on the condition that their science immediately enters the public domain, making the novel treatment available at generic rates. This proposal, championed by Bernie Sanders, has majority support in 48 states. Now, I know a lot of conservatives are all the time going on about you can't trust big pharma. So, a lot of these radical lefties are proposing some things to bleed out the corruption of big pharma. Okay, number 6, all workers should be able to take up to 12 weeks of paid time off following a serious medical injury or childbirth. Providing U.S. workers with the kinds of paid leave benefits that are standard in Western Europe is a long-time goal of American progressives. but some Democrats have balked at the challenges of financing such a policy. New York Senator Kristen Gillibrand's Family Act would fund 12 weeks of leave for new parents or the infirm with a modest increase in payroll taxes. Since this would constitute a tax increase on the middle class, Hillary Clinton declined to endorse Gillibrand's legislation in 2016. But when DFP ran a policy by the American people in a survey question that mentioned a 0.2% payroll tax hike and Republican arguments against the idea, the response was net positive in every state but Wyoming. There should be a Green New Deal of some sort. Let me talk about the last one first. I think that that people that have children that get pregnant, they should get paid time leave off because they need time to get situated and everything, and they need money in order to take care of their newborn. So let's check number 7 out. 7, there should be a Green New Deal of some sort. Some previous polling has found broad support for Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's signature framework for climate policy, which combines ambitious goals for emissions reductions with a commitment to gain expansion in public employment and various other social democratic reforms. That said, in some of these surveys, a quote, Green New Deal has not been clearly defined, with others have shown support for the policy, withering under Fox News, quote, scrutiny. The Data for Progress poll, however, describes the concept of a Green New Deal in significant detail. Some Democrats in Congress are proposing a Green New Deal bill which would phase out the use of fossil fuels, with the government providing clean energy jobs for people who can't find employment in the private sector. All jobs would pay at least $15 an hour, include health care benefits and collective bargaining rights. This would be paid for by raising taxes on incomes over $2,000 a year by 15 percentage points. Democrats say this would improve the economy by giving people jobs, fight climate change, and reduce pollution in the air and water. Republicans say this would cost many jobs in the energy sector, hurt the economy by raising taxes, and wouldn't make much of a difference because of carbon emissions from China. Do you support or oppose the policy? Well, when you put it like that, I support. Let's read some more. A 15-point increase in the top marginal tax rate, combined with the state-mandated suppression of a major industry and the establishment of guaranteed federal employment for every American out of work, is borderline Leninist by the standards of DC discourse. And yet DFP found net positive support for the policy in 44 states, albeit with relatively high percentages of voters opting for I don't know. I guess these are the 7 states that don't support it. Then our state supports it, in Texas too. Data for Progress found other ambitious progressive policies above water overall, such as lead removal. I don't even know how clean water is considered a progressive policy. Why would you want your water contaminated with lead? And other center-left ideas that command support in every corner of the country, such as extending the New START Treaty, but the 7 findings above struck them as most notable. Taking together, DFP's past year of polling on the quote new progressive agenda suggests the popularity of any given policy has little to do with its ideological extremity as measured by conventional definitions of left and right. But it also indicates that the American public is most broadly receptive to a specific category of left-wing ideas, namely ones that do not require major middle-class tax increases or touch on hot-button culture war issues, thus reflexively deferring to majoritarian opinion would pose significant constraints on progressive policy making. Of the 15 proposals in DFP's latest survey, 6 called for raising taxes on households earning over $200,000, and you can only go to that well so many times. Although there is reason to think the U.S. has excess fiscal space, it's still almost certainly the case that progressives cannot fund a Nordic-style welfare state with taxes on the affluent alone. Meanwhile, there is no way of redressing racial injustice in the U.S. without advancing policies that offend red America's sensibilities. I do think this website does have a left-wing bias, it sounds like, but the way they laid out these ideas, it's pretty clear that Americans support these policies that have been radicalized or considered radical by the right. So tell me what you think down in the comments below. I mean, there's more here, but I don't think the rest of this is important. It's on the screen there. You can pause and read it yourself if you'd like. But thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you again for watching. Hope you all enjoyed. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to your channel, leave a comment, tell me what your thoughts are on this. I'll have a link to the article in the description below. See you guys in the next one. Try not to kill each other, and peace.